Here we go. Welcome aboard, yo. It's Good Chats time. Mikey G coming in hot again. Somebody just turned up at our door to pick up a free bag of Woolworths shredded lettuce, which was a day out of date. Who knew that you could give away things like this on Facebook on Buy Nothing pages? Literally, my wife just listed a bag of lettuce that was a day out of date, and somebody just came and picked it up. So there you go. Welcome to Good Chats. Random stuff going on. I haven't even got fully set up yet. I was a bit thrown by that. So welcome aboard, everybody. How you going? In case you don't know what this is Good Chats, and I do this every Wednesday night on Outdoors Type at 8:15 p.m. or 8:17 p.m. or maybe even 8:18 p.m. Sometimes I even remember to turn the mic on. It's been a big week this week. Yeah, I've had a couple of drinks because it's been a big day. So you could be about to welcome the complete meltdown of witness the complete meltdown of Outdoors Type. You just never know, really. Welcome, Kingsley, the WA contingent. G'day over there. Hello from the future. Luke's Fishing, Northern Territory again. Thanks, mate. I saw your reel the other day where you sort of reworked that release of the Barramundi, and I thought that was really cool. That was really well done. Good on you, man. Steve, as always, welcome aboard, sir. O'Malley, good on you, man. I only just realised, bag of lettuce. Okay, all right. No, it was literally actually shredded iceberg lettuce. You list things on the internet these days, and I guess some people are just starving for a bag of iceberg lettuce, and they'll actually drive around to somebody's house to pick it up. G'day, Nico. Welcome aboard. And g'day, Andy Munro. Thanks for coming on board, mate. Love to see everything you're doing as well. So I'm spending a fair bit of time twiddling my thumbs on my mobile phone at the moment, and I'll talk about that in a minute. So what has everyone been up to? Let me know if you've got something that we want to talk about. It can be railways related, history related, outdoors related. I'd like to do a lot more outdoors related stuff, and I might be doing a lot more walking. I'm thinking of doing a lot more walking related stuff in the future. Maybe that'll have more or less to do with railways. I don't know, but just sort of thinking about it at the moment. So there is 9 people out there at the moment. 9 or 10 people out there at the moment, and not everybody's piped up and said g'day, so please feel free to pipe up and say g'day. Let us know who you are and where you're from. We're a friendly bunch of people here, and as I said in the beginning, I'm going to show you an ABC story, because the ABC reached out to me as my channel and asked me for some footage, which I think may have been for this story, but then didn't use it, so there you go. But it's an interesting story nonetheless. Then I'm going to talk a little bit about some stuff I learned this week about the Gawler Growth Framework and the transport plan, or the framework that they're looking at planning transport around Gawler, which has some interesting implications for rail and rail-related stuff around there. Then headed to Coffs next week and Bellingen next week. So that will be interesting, and I've kind of forgotten what I was going to say about Coffs, because I only wrote the word Coffs on my list, and I really should have put more detail into that. Do you know, one of these days, Darwin's on the list. Definitely Luke's Fishing, but definitely Darwin is kind of a trip with intent, that's for sure. Yeah, they do. Not only once the ABC's reached out, and they didn't even use the footage, so I'm not famous yet, that's for sure. But I do appreciate every little bit that I get, and I will be spending a bit more time working on that. Hopefully, as I move into a new phase, I have given notice at my full-time role at the moment, because I really do want to spend more time. I need to step back to part-time rather than working full-time, because I need to spend more time on the Outdoors Type project, and also working with organisations like Walking SA. And if you follow Walking SA, you'll see just how much work I do for those guys as a volunteer, and that's the kind of thing that I'm looking to do more and more. And so, yeah, I am celebrating a little bit. about that. It's actually a good thing. I've actually just resigned from a full-time job, and I'm like, cheers to that. Yeah, so we'll take 2 weeks off to head up to Coffs Harbour and Bellingen. So next week I'll be doing the stream live from a farm, and in true outdoors type outside broadcast style. I'm sure it'll be really sketchy internet, it'll be really dark, and it will just look really amateur and spooky, but you know, it is what it is. So anyway, let me see if I can get my stuff together. Oh, and shout out to John Wayman, who reached out to me on Facebook during the week as well, and we talked a little bit about stream decks, and we talked about filming techniques and drone techniques and whatnot. So I know you watch the replays, man, so thanks for all that. Really appreciate it. Always learning, that's for sure. So what I got to do now is go into screen cap mode. Yeah, I would love to get a Starlink, but you know what? That's one of the reasons why I'm leaving the role that I'm currently working in, because it just doesn't pay enough for me to just go get a Starlink or or as John says as well, a Stream Deck, let alone a caravan or a motorhome, which is I spend all day in doing photography on and all day writing copy on. Retail's one of those businesses, brutal. I'm just looking at my screen now. My feet. Oh no, actually, it looks a lot better on the playback monitor that I've got than it does on my OBS screen. It looks really burned out or something, but no, it looks like it's coming through okay. Right, so let's sort out getting to this video. Screen cap that. Find the internet. Oh, look. Then we go to this one. So we'll just watch this video because I found this very interesting nonetheless. I was looking at it to see if I could see my footage in it, but alas, there was none. Oh, better turn the sound on. I'm just going to quickly check if the sound's working. Sorry. Whoops.
Eventually.
It's not.
Now, nearly 20 years later, Labor is again looking at big investments in our transport network with a focus on rail. The first step, a $10 million scoping study, jointly funded by the state and federal governments.
Once we get that understanding, we can start rolling out infrastructure to deal with what is an ever-expanding city and a population boom.
Currently, train services extend across the city and into the hills to Belair, but improvements on every line are now being considered. Among the rail projects that could receive the green light,
I just realised it's probably really loud.
Extension south from Seaford to Aldinga.
We're all very excited in the south.
No, it's
the
okay.
further it goes, the better it will be.
Additions to the Outer Harbour line have also been flagged, with a possible extension to ASC to accommodate AUKUS submarine workers.
Whether we actually extend the Outer Harbour line right down to Osborne to try and get 5,000 workers to and from the shipyards.
North of Adelaide, there are calls for train services as far as Tanunda in the Barossa Valley, with the hope it will at least be extended 7 kilometres from Gawler to the proposed city of Concordia.
That in the future is going to be 26,000 people, so that's a huge population growth within our council area, and of course public transport is critical.
For the Adelaide Hills, various options are again being scrutinised, including an extension of services from Belair to Mount Barker, where the population is expected to rise to 47,000 by 2036.
The Labor Party has unfinished business in Mount Barker. We're the ones that zone Mount Barker, and we're the ones who've got to fix it.
But that could be easier said than done, with congestion already a problem.
It's pretty busy, yeah. There's a lot of traffic going on between here and the city.
And one estimate for the Hills Rail solution has put the cost at $5 billion. Former Transport Executive Luigi Rossi, now Director for the SA Railway Company, says a new freight line to Mount Barker and beyond, while costly, is feasible.
The beauty of rail is it provides the opportunity for people to live at Murray Bridge, live at Tail and Bend, and have a rail service that would get them into Adelaide within 50 minutes.
Up until 40 years ago, trains ran constantly on some of the lines where new services are being considered. The Barossa once had a thriving rail system, and in Mount Barker, old tracks are maintained, despite services from the city ending in 1987.
All of us in the hills rue the day when rail departed. It fell out of fashion.
But the switch back to trains appears to be gaining momentum.
We did have a good network. Obviously, with the advent of private cars, the patronage dropped off, but things have changed. We're seeing more regional growth, so that provides potentially more economic opportunities for rail to perhaps have a bit of a resurgence.
With passenger numbers yet to return to
Luke.
pre-COVID levels, the government is hoping to make catching public transport simpler and more attractive, so that as the city grows, people opt out of their cars and onto trains.
Public transport can solve a lot of these problems, but we lost that in the 80s, and we're trying to get it back.
People are very cynical because 2 years in, the government has wasted that time.
And with Adelaide already in the grip of a housing crisis, time is ticking for the government to decide which track to back and when. James Wakelin, ABC News.
So, there you go. I'll just shut that down right now. So that is an interesting one, that one. Let me just go back to this scene for a minute. That one. Yeah, so that was talking about a bunch of railway lines. It was talking about essentially extending all of them, the old Dingle line, the Outer Harbour line, I think in some ways they mentioned the Gawler line, they mentioned the Belair line, and there's also talk of getting railway to the new suburbs around Riverlea and around Anglevale, but I think their first problem is actually getting the sewerage pipes to those suburbs first before we think about getting a train. Oh, that's a really interesting question. You've got so many interesting questions, man. Seriously, you're an ideas man, Andy. I think somewhere we could do some work together at some stage. Tanunda is a big point of contention. You know, you've got. Talking about your question there, Andy, as well, you know, towns like Tanunda and Nuhiutpa and the Barossa Valley, there's this really big movement actually against having railway go to those towns because they don't want to become another Roseworthy or another Anglevale where literally all of the heritage of the town just gets swallowed up and it disappears. It took them years to actually get McDonald's into the Barossa Valley by stealth because the locals were against it over and over and over again. And now it's similar with passenger rail to the Barossa. So go to the next scene thing on my screen cap that I've got, and that's the Gawler Growth Framework, which highlights some interesting things about plans for the area around Gawler. So I'll just screen cap again, and bear with me while you see all this stuff. Screen capping is a bit brutal because I'm not making a video here, it's live streaming. So in my role for Walking SA, we're talking a bit about the Gawler Growth Framework, which involves transport strategies and growth strategies, walking path strategies, and all of that kind of thing. And again, this kind of talks a little bit about your question as well, about it's really interesting with Gawler how they have the Gawler buffer zone, for example, between Monopara and Gawler, which must remain as farming land in order to separate the two cities, because Gawler still considers itself a separate city. Oh, g'day, Pete. I heard the same thing. Yes, absolutely, yes. There is talk about revitalising that Dry Creek line and connecting it all the way back through, which is why they didn't ever plan to close the corridor. They just turned it into parks. So interesting story about the Barossa Valley and Macca's and how Hungry Jack's and McDonald's made it into Noruyutpa essentially by stealth. Then this channel would be about fast food. It is a really interesting story. Somehow On the Run managed to build a service station there in Noruyutpa, and I think it was Red Rooster, which somehow came in under the radar because they weren't one of the big three that was allowed to set up in Noruyutpa. And then lo and behold, after not very long, the license or whatever changed at On the Run in Noruyutpa, and it suddenly became a Hungry Jack's, and all of a sudden you had Hungry Jack's in the Barossa Valley. And then must be something to do with the highways, because now you have a big United petrol station, McDonald's and KFC just out there on the Sturt Highway, just north of Noruyutpa. And I figure again, that's how they got around the local planning strategies and managed to insert themselves on some kind of highway planning strategy or under some other kind of service station licensing agreement. So at any rate, it's all there now. So, and I'm sure the litter comes along with it. G'day, Re-L, bro. Welcome aboard. We're just having rants about fast food rubbish and talking about Gawler growth framework. So let's get back to that. So I'm learning a little bit about this, and this is where the interesting things about this is where they plan to turn, well, actually either or at the moment, where they plan to turn, and we'll go to that bit. And so the plan elements talk about the roads, they talk about the walking and cycling paths, and they talk about public transport options. And the interesting thing about the walking and cycling paths and the public transport options is the walking and cycling path, if you zoom in, I don't know if you can see it, but they talk about a rail trail for along the decommissioned railway line. And it allows for some active transport access, as they say, which Walking SA and I support. And at the same time, you've got the public transport plan, which says in point number 2 there, explore public transport connections to Roseworthy and Concordia. So on that same page there, they're talking about using the old Roseworthy railway corridor either as a walking trail, as a rail trail, or potentially even reactivating the railway to Roseworthy as well as Concordia. So this is really interesting stuff, and watch this space, because if you know sort of the northern area of Adelaide, you know that Roseworthy now is got a lot of new housing estates going in, and I'm pretty sure they probably don't have sewerage systems either. That's a whole other subject. And Concordia, which has been being consolidated for a couple of decades now, and in the next decade or so will be released as a massive new housing project as well. And there are plans to build rail out there. Not sure what they'll do with the Murray Street railway crossing. I know that was a point of some contention when they electrified the rail, whether or not they actually upgrade that crossing or create an under or overpass. So there's a lot of issues out there. And so the town of Gawler, and you'll see at the bottom there of this map, is that kind of separation area that they always had planned. But I do find it funny now that I'm pretty sure that that's going to be overwhelmed in the next 20 years or so, because they're putting in a lot of stuff at Hillier and other sort of suburbs and around these Tamblin Station and all these around these places. Might actually be worth me going and doing a video out there now to just kind of capture what remains of the rural feel of the area, because in 20 years time it will be gone. So that might be one of my opportunities to go and capture something for the future. So we are at 8:36 p.m. and how far I am through what we were going to talk about. Oh, that's right, I was going to talk about Coffs Harbour, and I was going to show you a little bit about hang on, my wife worked out at Xavier College, and a few young kids are going to be very rich soon. What do you mean? Probably because they sold their farms, or their parents sold their farm to the developers that for the developments that are just about to happen. I'm guessing. Anyway, O'Malley, All right, now, Coffs. I was going to go to, whoops, I'm still on screen cap, so we'll just leave it on screen cap. And if you don't know much about Google Earth, if you use Google Maps a lot, Google Earth is like a standalone app that is really, really powerful because it has more zooming options and more options. So anyway, when I do this, and this is me actually just starting out some of my research for the Coffs Harbour line, this is one of the places I start. I reckon Concordia will be just will be pretty much just a suburb of Gawler. So it's not so much a new town as such, Andy, but another suburb of Gawler. As Gawler kind of has always considered itself to be, and it was, South Australia's second city. It's just that it's so damn close to Adelaide. So this is Google Earth when you open it up, and I go up to the search bar there, right, and it still looks a bit old school and clunky, to be honest, but Coffs Harbour's come up in the drop down box, so I'll just select that, and then I go search, and so effectively it's like searching a map, and I'm sure you can see that, but we'll just zoom, and it just zooms in like that. It works a lot smoother, obviously, when we do it in animations and stuff. This is live streaming for you. But it'll zoom into Coffs Harbour. And what I find really, really interesting... Oh, this sucks with a touchpad. And so this is Hairy Legs tracks overlaid onto it again. And we'll be staying down there in the Bellingen Valley, down in the south there, kind of where I'm waving my mouse, or actually in the Bellingen and Kalang River Valley, a little bit further south, and then we'll be staying in Coffs Harbour for a while. So I'm going to explore the line around the area of Coffs Harbour. What I thought was interesting is all these little blue lines in the hills here, and these were old timber tramways, and I've actually tried to explore some of these timber tramways, but literally... there's nothing remaining, but it's an interesting one that I'm going to do and try and look for. It's really unwieldy with a touchpad, but it is what it is. So I'm going to explore and try and find stuff about the railway lines here around Coffs Harbour, because as you can see, they were pretty much used to build the breakwaters. But there's all these other lines which kind of cross out over the place around here, around the airport, for example. And I'm not sure what evidence they're based on. I've never found any other evidence. So I'm be really interested to know where Hairy Legs got his ideas from, and his contributors have obviously added these things to it, or added this information to it, and some of it might have been a bit rough. But yeah, there were so many old railway lines around there. Not sure if you can see this too, but this is a point of... yeah, it is. You can't get Hairy Legs to work on a tablet. Well, hopefully you can just get Google Earth to work on a tablet. It does make sense that they're putting the new AFL ground at Lyndoch, because it's still easy to get to without a railway, and there's a very high chance that a railway will go very close to Lyndoch. And I guess if the AFL was involved with Lyndoch, they may even get it to Lyndoch, because the railway line and the right-of-way or whatever, the permanent way, is all very much still intact through there. That would be relatively easy to do, although the government would still probably find a way to make it cost $5 billion. Whoops. And it brings up other things too, right? So you've got North Coffs Harbour and Park Beach, and these are two places that are very dear to me, and I have a long history of, so I'm looking forward to doing that. One of my favourite things about the Google Earth, though, is the ability to make things go 3D and just tilt around. So you really are treating this map, and you can actually... pan right down and see everything in 3D as well, which sometimes makes a difference. And they have, I guess, the most updated map imagery. So you can see here the Coffs Harbour bypass being built, and all of this line along the back of Coffs Harbour here up to the Red Hill tunnels. Again, more stomping grounds. These are the kind of places where we used to put 2-cent pieces on the tracks and see if we could flatten them. But the problem was we never actually found the 2-cent piece after the train went past. So we don't know whether it was flattened or not. So, yeah, that's what it is. Oh, I just noticed my computer's about to run out of charge, and it's going to give me a message in a moment. I didn't plug it in. Whoops. So there you go. So we'll be there in the next week or two, and I'll be doing a bit of exploring around there. I've spent a lot of time around the area. I know the area well enough now that hopefully I'll be able to find out a little bit more than your average guy. So we are about time for Book of the Week. Whew. We're cruising through this. Going to get it done in half an hour. And I said crazy old Book of the Week because I looked through my bookshelf earlier, and I couldn't find the copy that I had from The Mountains to the Sea, I think it was, which was about the Victor Harbour line from Mount Barker to Victor Harbour. I actually had one of the engine drivers sign that copy, and I can't find the bloody thing. God knows where I put it. I think I must have hidden it in another book or something. But while I was doing that, I found something that was... I'm just going to check this really quickly because I normally stuff around doing this. Who remembers the D-Generation? Comedy back in 1987. And the D-Generation, I think they were the predecessor to the Comedy Company, or they were like the ABC version of the Comedy Company. But we've got the D-Generation bumper book of Aussie heroes. So this was published in 1987. I would have been 13. So be prepared for some political teen humour. So it's full of graphic design tropes as well. So a lot of it's like very, very dry satire. It's hard to show in here, but it's so 1987. It reads a little bit like a university magazine, actually, which it probably was at the time. I don't know whether you can see the really basic hand drawings and stuff. Let's see if we can find something that's mildly safe for the internet. Oh, this isn't okay. Well, oh god, that might be a bit. No, that's a bit full on. No, that's a bit full on too. Well, it's getting a bit full on. It was all about Aborigines and Catholics, and I'm like not sure you can get away with that these days. Oh, here we go. Here's an interesting cartoon. I'll try and put it on the right side of the light. So for anyone who's seen Beach Des, I'm pretty sure they were getting their cues from something like this cartoon about beached whales in the D-Generations book. And I'm not going to read it because it's kind of visual. This, for me, as a 13-year-old, this stuff, though, was sort of like internet memes before we had internet memes, right? And this is all about, a daggy 1970s party and how cool things can be. I don't know whether I can put that there. And I don't even know whether you can read it. I'll have to have a look at this later and see how much of this crap you can actually read. I remember the Late Show, but I reckon the D-Generation would just break out. They were just new. This is when this stuff was still really edgy and really funny. See, and this kind of stuff couldn't. I don't know whether you could publish that these days in a book. How to Kill Your Pet, and somehow in the context of the book, with the photos and the DIY and all this kind of stuff, it just really made sense, and that's kind of how we rolled in 1987. So there you go. That was a Penguin book, The D-Generation. The Bumper Book of Aussie Heroes. I'm pretty sure you can't get it anywhere. But let me know and I'll maybe send you a photocopy. So there we are. That's Book of the Week. And it has been a hell of a busy week. If you look at Walking SA, for example, you'll see how busy I've been on Facebook. And I've scheduled the next 3 weeks worth of posts. So we're talking about 35 odd posts across Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn for Walking SA over the next couple of weeks. And I have very gladly decided to change what I do as a full-time or permanent job. So we'll see what shakes out after this 2-week holiday. But I'm sure there's going to be many interesting videos coming up as I'll be travelling across New South Wales and back again. So next week, we'll be coming live to you from a farm. I am considering making it an earlier broadcast. I'm thinking of making it a 6:15 stream that next week, because it'll still be light at 6:15. So by 8:15 I won't have my studio. I'll be out the back of a organic farm stay with very sketchy coverage. So watch this space. I'll certainly bring the stream up and schedule it a lot earlier before I leave. And the following week will be from the Big Banana. I'll make it a personal mission to deliver yet another Wednesday night live stream live from the Big Banana. I do love this book, man. Seriously. Reminds me of what it was like to be young and stupid and just everything was funny. Yeah, that's all, folks. We have come to half an hour in, given I was a little bit late. And that's about all I got for you tonight with everything that's been going on. So we'll have a lot to talk about next week as well, because we'll be out there and actually doing the outdoors type thing. So thank you to Andy Munro and Steve. Thank you for coming on board. Kingsley over there in WA, thanks for joining us in the future. Luke's Fishing, Northern Territory, always appreciate it, man. Thank you for coming on board and your comments and questions. O'Malley Tours 34 around the grounds. Sir, thank you so much for hanging around. Really appreciate it. Nico, thank you. Andy Munro, the man with the questions. We do need to find ways to work together, man. That'd be great. Pete Donaldson, thank you for coming on board. Rebro, thank you for coming on board again. And JK, as always, the remote producer of the show. I don't think I made actually that many mistakes tonight. I think I've got a pretty good flow going on, but that could be the beer talking. And thank you to all the lurkers. Thanks to ADHD out there as well. Thanks to Jack or John Wayman, and thanks to all the replayers as well. We do this every Wednesday night, no matter where I happen to be, and next week it'll be from a farm. So until then, wish me luck out there on the roads. We'll see you all next week. Peace.